Can I compare Magnepan speakers and MartinLogan speakers? Absolutely, I can compare them. I've had the 20.7 Magnepens, the 3.7 Magnepens at the same time. Look at my videos when you have a moment. They're on my channel. And I've had MartinLogan Neoliths, 15As, 13As, 11As, Montes, and Ethos. I've had plenty of MartinLogans. Okay, the differences are number one, of course, Magnepan is a full range loudspeaker, right? So the panel gives you all the low registers, right? With MartinLogan, that's not the case. MartinLogan needs a separate enclosure powered by a subwoofer of some sort, right? So um it's a different sound. Okay. I would say that for me, the Magnepan is more fun. It's a big presentation, huge sound, wall to wall, ceiling to floor. Okay. But to me, Magnepan is a very good sounding speaker, though not accurate. MartinLogan electrostatics are much more accurate, much more focused. There is the imaging on a panel, on a real MartinLogan panel, electrostatic panel, to me, is only rivaled by some of the best box speakers, like perhaps Magical, Wilson Audio, maybe Von Stryker. It's never going to be rivaled by any Magnepan. The bad thing about MartinLogan is the fact that some say you can hear the bass cabinet lag behind the panel. Basically, the panel is faster than the actual bass portion of the speaker. And so they hear a lack of coherence where you're hearing the mids, the high frequencies, and all of that. And it's sounding very dynamic, very fast sounding. And it's got a lot of speed. But the bass panel, the module underneath, feels disconnected, feels like it's always chasing and trying to keep up with the panel. Does that make sense? That's what I hear from a lot of people. I personally don't think I've heard that disconnect. Maybe I never paid attention to it because MartinLogan does so many other things that are fun. Now, if you are looking to have something that quote unquote is more amplifier friendly, I would say stay away from the Magnepan brand. It's a very tough load on a lot of amplifiers. Okay. I remember having serious amplifiers in here with my 20.7 Magnepans run really hot, hotter than I normally see them play. Okay. So they really tax the partnering amplifier. And that I don't feel happens to be so much the case with MartinLogan's. And that's because, again, those speakers have help from a power amplifier, right? The bass cabinet is always with a power amplifier. And in addition to that, what I like about the Logans is you can do the room correction thing too, and get better, really good, great bass, like low register results. Like your room could be more fine tuned, if that makes sense. But both of them are great speakers. I think both of them are very nice. And I, what would I choose? Again, preference, of course. I don't know. I think it's just so hard to compare them because it's like comparing a green tomato against a ripe tomato, right? It's like, dang, what? It depends on the application, or a lime against a lemon, right? One is yellow, the other one is green. It's hard because it depends on what you're trying to do. Are you cooking? Which one is going to be the better one? Is it the lemon for this meal or is it the lime for this meal? It's a very difficult conversation. I think both are just exceptional speakers, though. Someone exposed Constellation. They said it was too much money. Someone exchanged. Apparently, they did a overview of the internals of a Constellation component. What is my take on this? Here's my take on this. Okay, of course, we can nitpick and criticize any brand out there, and I'm sure that, unfortunately, in this case, it happened to be Constellation Audio. But I'm pretty sure, okay, if we were to pop the hood on a lot of components that have walked through our rooms, we would be shocked at what we see too. I'm sure, okay, Constellation is not alone in this. I understand the point that was made in the past about the internals of Constellation Audio. Um, perhaps not looking very well designed. Uh, it looked like an amateur engineer put it together, assembled it. I understand all those points. I think that the internet has made it harder now for manufacturers to get away with more because we don't have to be educated engineers to open up something and see that there's nothing in it but a piece of wire and a tiny transformer, right? So I think brands are aware of this now. They are aware that forums are created, narratives can begin, and that can definitely hurt their numbers, their sales figures, right? So I do want to say that I think Constellation took note of this, and I am willing to bet that their next generation of electronics, whatever that is, I don't know if there's anything right now coming out. I dare to say that they probably have addressed those concerns. In addition to that, I want to say that the times I've owned Constellation Audio, which have been quite a few, I have never had a Constellation Audio product break on me. Not once. Never. Never had a Constellation component fail me, not turn on, have an issue with a light not flashing or the display going out. Never. My experience has been great when it comes to the reliability. And the performance, by the way, the performance is there to match. Okay. Um, but it's up to you. Like, if you feel uncomfortable buying something that to you looks not well designed internally, I totally get it. I totally get it. And I do believe that Constellation can probably admit that maybe that generation of components could have been better designed, but designed to make it look more appealing to our eyes when it comes to the internals, not necessarily the performance, because the performance of the product is some of the best out there. I've always liked Constellation Audio Electronics, always. Describe your analog versus digital digital system from a sonic perspective. Essentially, especially with the continuous improvement of the Takeo Extreme hardware and software platforms. I mean, I think digital has made tremendous improvements. It's gained a lot of ground against analog, against vinyl, and maybe even tape. But the truth is, my job is to be objective here. I still find my vinyl to be more engaging. I still find it to be more natural, more organic. Instrumentation seems to be properly placed. Even music like Nirvana smells like Teen Spirit. I had a friend of mine bring that album the other day on vinyl, and I couldn't believe like how listenable it was, how enjoyable it was. But that's not the same thing that can be said about the digital version. So I think the digital version sometimes tends to kill recordings and make him unlistenable. And I don't think that's the case with analog. I think analog, for the most part, most recordings are pretty listenable. Not all, but most recordings are listenable. Fleetwood Mac, again, beautiful presentation, great dynamics when I played was it, yeah, it was Leonard Skinner. It was great. Like, it's just, I feel like I rediscover my music collection anytime I am playing my turntable. The only bad thing is I don't spend enough time with my turntable. I have another turntable that will be showing up soon, which is an Air Force 3. And I expect that to be a fun exercise in comparison against my Kronos. We're gonna use the same my Sonic Labs, my Sonic Labs gold cartridge. We're gonna use that, or signature, I think it's called, my Sonic Labs signature cartridge on both turntables, and we're gonna make a comparison to see which turntable is a superior turntable. But aside from that, I just have to be real again. I have to be honest here. Turntable to me is just much more engaging, much more engaging, much more natural. And I don't care what DAC you're looking at. I don't care what brand it is. We're trying to get closer to the real analog experience. I just don't think we're there yet. But some DACs can really make you question the need for a turntable. Meaning, yeah, it doesn't sound as good as vinyl, but you know what? I'm okay with the performance that it delivers right now, if I take into account that I don't have to get up from my listening chair to change songs. Okay, so that's usually the way that many people justify owning, um, a digital system. Do experiment with different cable brands for different chains in your system. You don't like the Wirewall Platinum Power cable for amps. For source, will be opposite results. So I will say that using the full loom of any cable brand is your starting point. Okay. Mix and matching right out of the gate is a poor way of evaluating cables. If you right now are watching me and you have a spaghetti mixture of meatballs with chicken and lamb all mixed together, okay, you're crazy. Okay, no, you need to make sure your cables are of the same brand first and foremost. Even if that means you have the top end of that brand with the mid grade and then the low grade components or cables in this case, it's fine. They're the same brand, okay? But you start to tinker with cables from different brands and you create this bad synergistic effect that is not a real representation of what each cable loom could do if you had it in your system. Cable looms of each brand that you have. So it is important that you play with cables of the same brand first. Then, as you get used to the sound over time, and this doesn't happen in 2 days, it takes time, okay? Weeks, I would say. Then you can say, okay, I've heard great things about this power cord from this brand. Let me bring it, unplug this one, plug it into this DAC, for example. Then you know, is this power cord doing the system? Is it giving it the right improvements or not? That's one way of doing things. You begin to change one thing at a time, one variable at a time. And as you continue to change things out, you will be in better position to understand if it is an improvement or uh, lack thereof. Okay, based on the fact that you already knew what the full loom sounded like. See what I'm saying? So please stay away from mix and matching cable brands. Stick to the same cable brands first. Then after that, go ahead and perhaps compare different power cord brands in your system. Okay. That's the proper way of doing things. I'm telling you, I've done it a million times. Right now, in the back of my room, I have a Shunyata Omega speaker cable. I have also a Vanta Sirius speaker cable, and I have Griffin XLRs. I have my cable line authentic audio image as power cords for my source, and my preamplifier at times as well, and my network switch. So I am mix and matching several reasons. Reason number one, I already heard my full cable line authentic audio image. Okay, so I know what that does, right? Reason number two is because I'm a lab. So part of my hobby, part of what I do is, of course, testing different things, understanding what this cable brand is doing or isn't doing. And the only way I can do that properly is by understanding in full what my cable loom does first. Okay, so you're building a dedicated music room now. What are your best tips? Well, you saw my room. You saw all the hurdles I went through to build this room, okay? Um, I would say for me, if it was possible, right? If it was possible, if I was building another room, excuse me, I would hopefully not build a small room. Okay, I think a medium-sized room to a large room with an asterisk, large room with an asterisk, because I'll tell you, one of the challenges with a large room is sometimes too big of a room also takes away from the listening experience. You now need bigger speakers. You will now need subwoofers in the corner. You're going to need to dial in the subs to the front speakers, more powerful amplifiers, more room treatment. So I'd say for me, the sweet spot are like mid-sized, modest-sized rooms. For example, I'd say 23 to 25 wide to, I wouldn't say, probably 27 to 30 wide deep, something like that. Like to me, that's a nice size room. Yeah, about 23 to 25 wide and about 27 to 30 deep. Okay, to me, that's a nice size room. Okay, ceilings maybe like 10 feet, something like that. That's a nice size room for me. And the tips I can give you is, of course, to do your homework when it comes to acoustic treatments. There are many. There's a lot of information out there when it comes to acoustic treatments. You can get Acoustic, for example. I offer a service where you pay. You send me the pictures of your room with all the dimensions of your room. Your listening distance, the chair to your speakers, the speakers that you've got, and they do a computer generated design of your room, and the computer is able to tell you where you have um, problems with your sound. It'll tell you. It literally say you're going to have a problem in this frequency range based on the dimensions you gave us. And so we recommend that you put this panel here, that panel there, this strap here, this diffuser there, this absorber there. The computer just knows how to dress up your room. So your job is only let me order those pieces and then get to work. Right? To me, that's the easiest way to do things, because if you start reading online what he said, what she said, what they said, what we said, believe me, you will never end. And remember, this is your wall. So you're going to be gluing, ungluing, ripping your wall apart because you're listening to everybody and their mother as far as how to properly treat your room. You're also going to have those individuals who will tell you you don't need to treat your room, which I disagree with. I think a room needs to be treated. It's my opinion, of course. And so as long as you have the right amount of bass straps, which should be 4, and the right amount of diffusion and absorbers, a balance, I think. And the carpet, of course, if you can, or make sure that the floor is not naked. The floor should not be naked, and you shouldn't have any reflective surfaces like a lot of windows or a big coffee table in the middle that doesn't need to be there, or a couch that is almost up against the front speaker, right? As long as you don't have any obstacles. If you don't have any obstacles along the way, in the form of furniture, things of that nature, I think that the room is pretty much set, man. I mean, could you do a better job? I'm not a room specialist. Of course you can, and I know others have probably more experience than I do. But you can take the room conversation to levels that it'll never end. Okay, you can start calling your electricians, and they're going to give you a $30,000 breaker panel just for your mains, and then they're going to give you a freaking all the drywall that's going to be super expensive. I mean, you can go nuts, man. And the truth is, unless you're planning to live in the house until you're gone from this planet, okay, I don't recommend that you go on an all-out assault of your room. I think a room of the dimensions that I mentioned with the right balance of treatments should be more than enough, man, to get you going.